Warmest welcomes, this is The Bare Opinion. My name is Mitch, and these are my top 10 albums of 2016. Let's get into it. So before we get into this, I would like to mention a few albums that I thought were good, but didn't quite make the top 10. And we'll call them the honorable mentions. So starting as the first honorable mention on this list, we have A Day to Remember's Bad Vibrations. This is an album that a lot of people were highly anticipating due to the anger and frustrations that they had battling their record label and the contract that they had with them. And the album came out and was actually quite good. It's a very raw, gritty version of A Day to Remember that I don't think a lot of people were expecting, and I certainly wasn't expecting. I know that a lot of their last few releases were a bit more polished, a bit more clean, and this release definitely felt like it had some more grit to it, which was great. It didn't make the top 10, but it is certainly a great album. Another honorable mention on this list is, surprisingly, if you know my reviews, Bruno Mars's 24K Magic, 24 Karat Magic. Yes, it's a cheesy album. It's kind of a dumb album. There isn't a whole lot of depth here, but I cannot deny how catchy this album is and how well written and how well produced this album is. I know Bruno Mars has a lot of money to put into these kind of things, and his record label is certainly looking to get him a great album out on the shelves, but I cannot deny how much I enjoyed this record, even if it isn't in my top 10. And finally, for my honorable mentions, we have David Bowie's Black Star. Now, this record is very haunting. As many of you know, David Bowie passed away this year following the release of this record, and a lot of the songs on here really speak to the idea of death and understanding it and really kind of coming to terms with it, and that was something that I found to be quite haunting about this record. The music on here is great. It's some of Bowie's most experimental work in many years. The only reason it's not in my top 10 is simply the fact that I find it somewhat hard to listen to due to just the haunting nature of what's being played. So let's get into the actual top 10 now. We'll start off with number 10, which is Letliv's If I'm the Devil. I was really anticipating this album, very highly. The Black is Beautiful was an incredible album, so disgustingly dark and just gritty and just so many emotions like packed in there, and I was expecting that out of If I'm the Devil, and I certainly got that. But what we were given as a total package was a much more relaxed Let Live, not in the sense that there isn't that charged up emotion behind the songs and the lyrics, but there isn't as much screaming, there isn't as much gritty vocals, a lot more cleans, a lot more melodic tones out of the guitars and the music in general across the album. There are definitely a few tracks on here that definitely bang, but overall this is a much more laid back approach for Let Live, and I thought it was great. Coming in at number 9, one that I did not expect to enjoy really at all, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds Skeleton Tree. Many people know this record as being a very dark, very sad record, because it is. It's reflecting on the loss of Nick Cave's son, who tragically died. And though all the songs aren't completely centralized around that one topic, the idea of death and emotion and just general feeling on this record is overwhelming. It's not a record I can certainly listen to anytime I want, that's for sure. I listened to this probably 2 or 3 times in a row for my first time through, and then since, I can't really say that it's one that I pick up and really just jam out to, because it's not that kind of record. It's very heartfelt, very gritty, and just a raw record that if you're looking for a bit of a sit back, relax, and kind of enjoy the simplicity, complexity, whatever you want to call it, of this record, it's really hard to define. But when you listen to it, you'll know that this is one of the most heartfelt and true records you'll hear all this year and really ever. Coming in at number 8, we have From Indian Lakes, Everything Feels Better Now. This one is another one that I really highly anticipated. I put their last record as number 2 on my, I believe, 2014 records of the year. And this did not disappoint. It's a much more laid back record than their last one, I feel like. Now, that's comparing indie to indie, and I know that you can't really get much more laid back, but this feels a little bit more serendipitous, just a little bit lighter tones. The vocals are much softer. There's not a lot of rush to a lot of the songs here, and because of that, this record really plays on that strength and doesn't overstep what it's going for. It's definitely an album that is a simple listen. You're not going to, rock out to this record by any means, but it's definitely one that you can tell a lot of heart was put into, and I really appreciated that. Number 7, we have Beartooth's Aggressive. Yes, this record was awesome, and I didn't think that they could really outdo their last album, and I don't think they did, but it's dang close, and it's really good. There's a lot of really, really fast, hard tracks on this record that are just so much fun to just plug in and play, just jam along on a car ride or whatever. But there are also moments like the final track on this album that just kind of are laid back and make you realize that there's a lot of complexity to the lyrical content here and to what Caleb is trying to show through this music. And I think it's a very maturing step for the band, and it's the right step in general. Number 6, we have Issues Headspace. Yes, the reigning Album of the Year champions of 2014 are now number 6 on the list, which is not a bad thing. Being number 6 out of all the albums of the year is still pretty good. But Headspace was a great album. Did it have the replayability and charm of Issues' debut album? I would say no, but it's still great. They did a lot of experimental work on here through songs like The Realist, and there's just things on here you really wouldn't hear anywhere else in the metalcore scene. There's even an attempt at somewhat of a country song on here, and there's a feature by a country artist. Name another band who tried to do that. I give Issues complete props for trying the things they did here. Did it all work? No, but they certainly made a great record. All right, getting into the upper half of the list. These are all records that just are great. I can't, when you get up to up here, maybe in the top 3 more so, but in the top 5, you're really looking at some of the best music of the year. But let's get into it. At number 5, we have Radiohead's Moonshaped Pool. I can say, even though I'll probably get some flack for this, that I have never thoroughly enjoyed a Radiohead record. Their artsy rock kind of style is just something that, I don't know, I've just never really been able to click with. Sure, there are some great tracks here and there. I can't deny how experienced and well-traveled of a band they are. But I've never listened through a record by Radiohead and thought, this is something I'll play forever. A Moonshaped Pool changed that perspective for me. Yes, it's a much more toned down version of Radiohead, much more, I don't even know if I could say mature. This band has hit maturity long ago, but there's something about this record that just feels so much more down to earth than anything they've put out recently. And just that kind of beautiful, I don't even know, scenic kind of atmospheric music that's on this record just kind of takes you to a different place. I know when I listened through this, I couldn't listen to it segmented. I had to listen to this record from start to finish as a whole because it is just that much of a complete package and just really, really unlike anything else on this list. At number 4, we have the Deer Hunters Act 5. Yes, surprising at least me, I think many other people as well. The Deer Hunter decided, hey, we released an album last year, let's release another one this year. And I thought, maybe they'd be rushing in production, maybe there'd be too similar of themes on this compared to the last album, considering how close they were written together. And though, yeah, I mean, it has that Deer Hunter flair to it, this is an album in its own that can stand on its own, and it is incredible. This album really serves as a great finale to the Act series, which I could be wrong about, but I've heard that Act 6 is not going to be a traditional album. So I'm considering it the finale, but I could be wrong. But there are some tracks on here that are the best the Deer Hunter's ever written. I think that they get better with every album. I don't believe this is as good as Act 4, but it is definitely right up there with Act 3 and is in the top tier of the Deer Hunter's work overall. All right, the top 3. As I was saying before, it gets a little harder when you get up into this range, but honestly, these 3 are just incredible. I think any of them could have been 1, 2, or 3, but they are in this order for a reason, and let's get to it. At number 3, we have Watsky's Times Infinity. Yes, Watsky, the white guy rapper on YouTube, his album, Times Infinity, is incredible. It is a step above any of the work he has put out thus far. All You Can Do, a great album. Cardboard Castles, a great album. But Times Infinity, I believe, took his career to a next level. There is some lyrical content on this album that is above and beyond really anything else I've heard this year. And the final 4 tracks on this album, which he considers to be a suite in their own regard, that could really be its own EP, I don't think there's any set of songs on this list that really compares to that. If you were going to go into this album, even if you're skeptical about everything else, just listen to the final 4 tracks and be blown away. Big number 2 here, Anthony Green's Pixie Queen. Yes, the indie god himself. I don't know if it would be really indie, but Anthony Green came out with another album this year, continuing his solo work and putting out the best solo work to date. This album is, from start to finish, an experience that he labeled as being something that he could play as a bonfire. It even represents that on the cover itself. And going into it with that mindset, I honestly believe helps the record. It just brings a more raw tone to it, and really just this like truthfulness to the music that just gives every track a sense of honesty. There's so much, personal connection with the lyrics and Anthony Green here, and the musicality is always top notch. Whether it be him in Seosin, Circus Survivor, and his solo work, Anthony Green continues to produce some of the most creative music that there is, and I honestly am so glad that I found this guy when I did. So, 2016's at an end. We have one more album, the big number 1 we've had on my page, on Average Bear, which is now the Bear Opinions page. We've had City and Colors, Hurry and the Harm for 2013, Issues debut album 2014. We had The Main's American Candy for 2015. So what is the king of 2016, you ask? Well, there's really only one that I could think to put at number 1, and that is Dance Gavin Dance's Mothership. This album, I don't even know where to start. The complexity and unique sounds that the band was able to put together on this record blows me away. There are so many little weird quirky sounds and like vocal cuts and guitar riffs and drum fills that it all pieces together in this chaotic mess that's beautiful. Every track has its own flavor, and I mean, to a certain extent, every track kind of stands on its own. It's an experience unlike really anything else you're going to hear out of any genre. Dance Gavin Dance has proven from time to time that they are willing to break all the rules when it comes to music writing. Throw in these 5-part songs that don't necessarily sound like they'd stitch together, but do perfectly. And there's just no one else, in my opinion, around their genre and scene that really compared to the music writing that these guys have hit on this record. It's an incredible experience. I recommend everyone to listen to it, and Dance Gavin Dance's Mothership is my top album of 2016. So thanks for watching. What did you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know below. Please leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought about everything. Please give me a like and a subscribe. We're going to be throwing out a lot of different videos starting now. We're going to have top movies of the year soon and top games of the year soon, and then we'll get into some more opinionated, just kind of chatting topics. So I'm really glad you were here to experience the first video of what is now the Bear Opinion, and I really hope you stick around to watch some more. Thank you.